Yeah, good morning. I was walking down the beach. I opened my mobile and read a beautiful message that I got yesterday that, yeah, really made me quite emotional because it basically said that it's interesting to know me from so many one-on-one personal conversations and to see the same person speaking out of a screen. And yeah, somehow that really, really touched me because I think this has been my big topic the last 2 days, feeling that I'm struggling, trying to make sense, even to myself, and somehow, somewhere feeling the need to explain myself. Um, and I just have to acknowledge that I, I guess where it comes from is an experience that I had lately with a person who was very close to me and wanted to come. And I said, better don't come because my state is such that I can crash at any point of time. And whenever somebody comes, and even if he or she says, I have no expectation, there's still some level of expectation because, well, we haven't seen each other for years. And that ends up actually being pressure for me. So then communication becomes quite difficult because the person will have the tendency to feel offended or insulted by will perceive my plea to please come later when I'm better as I'm not really interested, and that is so difficult. I had another experience at the beginning of the year. I don't want to expose anyone here. I'm fine exposing myself, but yeah, without explicit consent, I can't really. I don't want to give any names. So, but between a sick person and the near and dear ones, uh, yeah, from my experience, it turns out to be a very, very challenging situation. Because yes, you can be deeply empathic um, with somebody who is acutely sick, but how about years? That is one thing. The other thing is if the sickness gets so intense that it is actually scary, then what is the inner response? Like, in my experience, it really is, if you haven't faced your own vulnerability, your own fragility, your own mortality, then coming in touch with a person like me um, is going to be very uncomfortable. And if one is able to be honest with that, then that's fine, because that might mean, you know what, this is actually too much for me right now, and I need a break. And I'm totally fine dealing with that. But the other version of remaining in contact and in communication, but actually having a sense of, you know what, this is actually too much, this is triggering a lot of stuff in me, that presents a person that is already struggling to hold himself or herself. That creates a very, very difficult dynamic. And yeah, a few years ago, what came up for me is that the only way I can deal with it is to say, you know what, I'll get back to you when I'm better. And that, to first come to that point, that is really tough. That is for both sides, I think. This is a tough thing to say, and it's also a tough thing to hear. But I guess that's what happens when things become like that, it just gets very raw. And yeah, the truth is, you might be seeing me doing something, drawing your own conclusions, but you won't see me when I crash, when I'm out. You won't see me then, right? So, yeah, sorry for tearing up here. Maybe better also that I'm not showing my face today. So now, for example, I'm here. In half an hour, I'm supposed to teach swimming to a few people. Actually, I'm not in a state to do this kind of stuff. But I do it anyways, because I've seen if I wait for me to be in a state to feel ready, well, it will never happen. So I just do. And the moment I start doing, well, I don't know how it magically happens, but for that amount of time, somebody gives me the necessary energy to fulfill that task, especially teaching. And then once the task is over, well, then I feel both exhausted but also somehow energized, because I've moved. Either physically moved, or I've contributed something to somebody's life, and I've made a little difference, and there's a little purpose, even if it's on a very mundane level. So, and it's the same thing with climbing for me. I climb in states where, well, I'm either too dizzy or too nauseous or too what not all. But if I can just make it up one tree, even if my legs are shaking, there's some amount of endorphins being released there, and well, it does the trick. Yeah, there's a bit of silence now. I think that is it, what wanted or needed to be said today. Thank you again, Cristina, for editing the video yesterday. I wouldn't have been able to do that. I send you much love from this beautiful place that actually, by showing it to you, I'm kind of rediscovering its beauty. So, thank you so much. चलो आइए दीदी, अरे तेजी से जा रही हैं, कहाँ जा रही हैं दीदी? बहुत अच्छा किया, धन्यवाद।